Welcome. There is a possibility that a prominence on the northwest limb will erupt in the next day or two. So this is a warning that we could get a fairly major coronal mass ejection from the sun in that period of time. Two prominences caught my eye in today's images of the sun. They are here in the northwest and another one in the northeast. These are part of what's called the polar crown filaments. Filaments and prominences form along magnetic neutral lines. If you look at the northern polar region here, you can see it's predominantly got positive magnetic field. That's shown in white here. But surrounding it just to the south, there's more negative field than positive field. And so there is a magnetic neutral line along that white circle that I've shown here. And that's where these filaments and prominences will form. You have the exact opposite situation in the southern hemisphere. The polar region is predominantly negative, shown here in black, and the area surrounding it has more positive than negative. So again, you have another neutral line, so there'll be more polar crown filaments formed down there, although they're not so easily visible at the moment. You can see polar crown filaments most plainly on the limb when they're actually prominences rather than filaments. The one I'm interested in is the one in the northwest. That's the one on the right. There's also another one on the far left of the image, the northeast limb. And that one does not seem to be an imminent threat of erupting at the moment at least. What caught my eye was this coronal cavity. You can see the prominence here as a thin dark line. That is because the material there is particularly dense and cold and is absorbing the coronal emissions around it. But above that, there's this dark area. Now the question is, where does the material for a prominence come from? And it is apparently from the corona. The corona is drained, so it's not emitting so much, and we have this dark cavity. I've outlined the prominence with this white line here, just to guide the eye. And then the cavity is this dark area above it. If this were to erupt, it's likely to follow the trajectory to the northwest. So will it be a threat to the Earth? Well, not really. First of all, this cavity is too far north, so even if it erupts, the chances are the coronal mass ejection will pass above the Earth. And secondly, this is on the western limb, so this is too far west to be directly connected to the Earth. And every hour that goes by without it erupting, that situation increases, so the danger to us gets less and less. However, we should not forget its eastern cousin. On the northeast limb, there's a prominence, but it's not quite so well formed, and it's certainly not so vertical. Over the next week or so, this is going to rotate into the western hemisphere of the sun, which is magnetically connected to the Earth. So if that should follow the trajectory of its cousin, then that could produce a geomagnetic storm here at Earth. So it's still at a high latitude, so the chances are it still will be a glancing blow. So we need to keep an eye on that particular prominence, or as it soon will be, filament, as it crosses the disk. There are equivalent polar crown filaments in the southern hemisphere, which we should also keep an eye on. So until next time, stay safe and goodbye.